What is going on, everybody? We are going to break down Thursday's early 5-game MLB slate over on DraftKings. If you are new to the channel, what's going on? My name's Tim Williams. You like baseball, you like DFS, you are in the right spot here. Before we get started and get into these 5 games here, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I don't want you to miss out on any future breakdowns here. We're going to go through each and every one, kind of talk about it, get a good feel for the slate, talk about weather, over unders, who's favorited, bats, pitching, all of that good stuff. So do not miss out. Subscribe to this channel. Let's get started. First game here, we have the Angels taking on the Yankees. 10 over under here. Looks like this might be the only game with some rain possibly. So keep an eye out for that. I'm definitely super interested in this one. Canning taking on Montgomery here. Canning 7.1K. Opponents hitting 254, getting on base at 331 clip. Canning himself has a 23.8% strikeout rate, 10% walk rate. Just really isn't a guy I trust going into Yankee Stadium. You know, I was kind of in on Ohtani in this slate. I'm recording this the night before in this slate going into today, and that was a disaster. So I don't see Canning getting too much better there. And then on the other side, Montgomery 6.4K. Opponents hitting 248 off of him. Does a pretty good job limiting guys on base. Surprisingly, 23.5 strikeout rate there. Not too bad for the price. Montgomery at times has looked pretty good. And for 6.4K, maybe he's kind of a value play we're looking for. 43% ground ball rate here. He's definitely much worse against right-handed batters. So that's something to kind of keep in mind here. And we're going to talk a little strategy here with the Angels. I don't have Ohtani on this list. He's very much in play. I prefer Ohtani against right-handed pitchers. Montgomery coming at you from the left side here. And on a 5-game slate, you're just going to have to take a stance, right? Ownership is going to be much, much more condensed. And I think Ohtani, if he is in the lineup, he's going to be very high owned. We're talking maybe like 30% here. He has been superhuman, but in small slates, in big contests, I think I'm going to try to avoid him. If you're playing cash, or maybe smaller slates where you don't need to get as different, I think he's, as solid as they come. But I'm looking at like Rendon here at 4.2K, hitting right side, a lot of power here. And then we got to find value here, right? And if Ward's in there, 2.6K is really cheap. Schebler, 2.1K. I don't know if he'll play the whole game, right? But as far as splits go, he's very much in play. Definitely has a lot of power. And then on the Yankee side, Judge, Stanton, Sanchez are the big three I'm looking for because they're the three with the highest upside. Voit definitely very much in play. You could drop down to Torres. He's getting cheaper. He's looked pretty bad though. I don't mind getting to Annuar at 3.1K. He finally had that big breakout game the other day. Might be, worth taking a shot on to kind of balance out some of those 5K bats, but keep an eye on weather on this one, but it's definitely looking pretty interesting. Next, we have the Mariners and the Blue Jays, 9.5 over under. Kikuchi taking on Ryu. Blue Jays favorited here. Kikuchi, 8.3K. Opponents hitting 194 off of him. 25.5% strikeout rate. He has looked pretty good this year. 8.8% walk rate. I don't really like to see that. Really good getting those ground balls, 53.4% ground ball rate, 20.6% fly ball rate. His last 3 outings here, 23, 25, 24 DraftKings points. He's just been kind of solid. We're seeing a lot of similar type pitchers on this early slate here. And it kind of starts with Kikuchi at that 8.3 price range. I don't like the matchup here against the Blue Jays. I do think he's in play here. That being said, and then on the other side, Ryu 7.5K, just more of a better real life pitcher here. I don't mind the price here, right? And the matchup's great. Mariners strike out a ton. They really do not hit for average. Opponents hitting 236 off Ryu, 20% strikeout rate. That isn't all that great. 48% ground ball rate. Really does a good job with his fly ball rate as well, 23.4%. Has not allowed more than 4. He hasn't gotten more than 4 strikeouts since May 28th. And, I know he's dealt with some injury stuff in the past. He is kind of elite against left-handed batters, though. So that's something to keep in mind. He's not really a guy I want to stack against here. But he, maybe taking a shot on some of these, right-handed batters could be interesting. Haniger at 4.6. It's kind of pricey for the slate, right? It's not a bad play. And then France 3-1. I think there's a lot of power upside. Remember Ryu better in real life. He doesn't really give up a ton of home runs here, but those are primarily the two I'm kind of interested in. And then on the Blue Jay side, we're going to want those right-handed batters. They fare better against Kikuchi, and the Blue Jays probably have the best right-handed hitting lineup in all of baseball. Vlad at 5.9, Bichette, Semien. Those are the top three that are, in that 5.6 to 5.9 range. We're going to try to have to fit those in, right? If we're looking Blue Jays way. Hernandez at 4.8, really solid play there. Grishik 4.2. I love targeting him against lefties. And then they have some guys at the bottom of the order we can kind of consider once we see the lineup come out here. But another interesting matchup. Next, we have the Royals Red Sox here. Red Sox favored at home, 10 over under here. Bubik taking on Eovaldi. Bubik 5.4K, not a ton of interest here. I don't think he's going to get it done in Fenway Park. It's going to be kind of a nice day out. I just don't see it happening against the Red Sox. Opponents hitting 258 off of him. His strikeout rate is under 20%. His walk rate is above 11%. It's just not going to get it done against the Red Sox. He gives up a ton of hard contact. And then on the other side with Eovaldi, 8K. I don't mind the matchup with the Royals, but the Royals are kind of tough. They don't strike out a ton. So that makes me a little hesitant. Opponents hitting 261 off of him, 304 on base percentage. He's just been hard to trust, right? He'll go out there and get you 20, 24 points, and then he'll go out there the next start in a good matchup and get you 6. He's just kind of been like that all year. 22% strikeout rate. He's only given up 4 home runs in 16 starts, though. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people might think, well, I'm going to stack the Royals here to try to get a little bit different on this slate. But is that really the best spot against a guy who's only given up 4 home runs in 16 starts? He's starting at home. He's going to get good offensive support. So that being said, let's talk about the Royals bats. We're going to want the right-handers against Eovaldi. Merrifield's been having a great series, 5.5K. Perez 5.1, finally hit a home run. Santana 4.2. I think he's always reliable. He's a guy that can take walks. Dozier 2.9K. Taylor 2.2K. There's other guys, Soler, that in the mix, right? I don't mind getting to some of these cheap Royals bats here because we're going to probably want to pay up for a lot of other bats. Dozier has that power upside. And the guy, my favorite, cheap Royals bat that isn't going to get a lot of ownership like a Soler is Michael Taylor, 2.2K. He just has that power upside. He fits well at Fenway. So if he's in the lineup, I'm definitely looking his way, at least maybe as a cheap one-off with that power upside. So and then the Red Sox side, it's the same similar guys, Martinez, Hernandez against Bubik, who's a lefty at 4.4. Really don't mind him. He'll probably lead off. Verdugo 4.3. His price jumps a little bit. Renfroe, always good power against lefties here at 4K. And then Devers, Bogarts both at 5.5K. Those two kind of, not having the best series, but they're not like putting up 0 points or anything like that. So they're just kind of pricey as well. Depending on your lineup builds, maybe you just take some of these cheaper Red Sox bats, right? And then kind of pay up elsewhere. So both sides interesting here, really looking at value on the Royal side. And then Red Sox, I think everyone's kind of in play. Next, we have the Twins White Sox. White Sox are favorited here at home in Chicago. 8 over under here. You have Barrios taking on Rodon, by far the best pitching matchup on the slate. 9.4K for Barrios. I don't mind it here. The White Sox aren't, what the White Sox were in spring training or the beginning of the year. He's a righty here. Opponents hitting 224 off of him, 283 on base percentage. So he has looked pretty good overall. 26.5% strikeout rate here, 43% ground ball rate. Don't mind him here. He does struggle against left-handed batters, so it's something to keep in mind. Although I think the White Sox The bats that are from the left side aren't really too intimidating. It's kind of similar to what we talked about in Wednesday's video here. We'll get into that once we get into the bats. But Rodon at 10-2, the spend up of all spend ups on this slate. He has looked pretty solid this year. I will give him that. He's talked about, the sticky stuff in the past, how that's kind of helped him out, but he still looks pretty good. Opponents hitting 169 off of him. That is remarkable. 36.2% strikeout rate here. He definitely has the best chance to get the most raw points on the slate, in my opinion. 7.7% walk rate. He's a guy that tends to walk guys a lot in the past and actually has done a pretty good job at reducing that this year. The Twins, don't overall like scare me, but like they're also good but don't strike out, so it's kind of a tougher matchup for him. Cruz at 4.9, I think that's fair. I think he deserves a much higher price tag. And then another guy for like some cheap value, maybe Larnach at 2.8k, lefty on lefty matchup, but he has hit lefties fairly well. Rodon as well as Barrios, they're not dishing out tons of home runs either, so I think I'm more just interested in the pitching. And then on the White Sox here, left-handed at bats, like we talked about, Grandal, when you look at his average, it's like he can't hit his way out of a paper bag, right? But that's just kind of his style. He's more just, hitting for home runs here. So I don't mind him at 4.5K. He's really got to hit that home run. Moncada at 4.4, probably more of a fade, but definitely in the conversation here. And then we talked about this in the video yesterday. Goodwin, 2.8K. I said, he's a lefty who could probably go yard, and he did it. So I'm putting it back on the sheet today. Barrios does struggle against the lefties here. If I'm going to take one, it's going to be Goodwin. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not going to kill you at the end of the day at that price. And then last but not least, we have the Rangers taking on the Oklahoma. Oh, geez, it's late. Oakland Athletics here. 8 over under. Dunning taking on Manaea. A's are favored in this one. Dunning, 5.7K, fairly cheap. Looked pretty good early on in the beginning of the season, but it's a long season, my friend. Opponents are hitting 293 off of him, 24.4% strikeout rate, 8.1% walk rate. Not going to do it. 45.6% hard contact rate. So he's giving up a ton of hard contact here, right? The A's are kind of a tough matchup. These guys have big bats. He's a big ground ball pitcher. And again, like a lot of these other pitchers on the slate, this is becoming a trend. He's only given up 6 home runs in 15 starts. So that's something to note. But Dunning isn't really a guy who's going to go very long. Maybe, depending on his pitch count, he really only throws like 70, 80. I don't even know if he's hit 90 yet so far this season. So definitely leaning towards the A's here. And then Manaea on the other side, 9K. I don't know what's going on with the A's pricing and DraftKings. Like, they pricing up their other aces up, not aces, but other great pitchers up super, super high. And now Manaea's at 9K. That's probably fair. Opponents hitting 245 off of him, 25% strikeout rate here, 40% hard hit contact. Really good matchup here against the Rangers. He's a lefty. They strike out a ton. We know the drill here, right? He has looked really, really solid the last 6 weeks. He's only allowed 8 home runs in 16 starts. The ballpark really favors him here. And then, Rangers bats, the righties don't have a ton of power. The lefties, it's hit or miss. I just really love Gallo. If they're going to continue to price him at like 3.8, I think I'm always going to take shots on him as one-offs, right? And just hope he hits one out of the park, because he definitely has the talent to do so. And you don't have to pay a ton for him. And then on the other side with the A's, DraftKings kind of pricing them up a bit too much. If you can get there, I think it's definitely worth considering. Olsen 5.6. I think that's a really good price tag for what should be an all-star this season. I hope he gets into that home run derby for sure. Chapman 5.7, Laureano 5K. It's a little much. And then it's like, who do you stack these guys with? Like, right, the bottom of the order, not so good. I'm not going to take Murphy unless there's a left-handed pitcher, so he's kind of out of the equation for me. Jed Lowry, I think, is fine at 3.9. And Tony Kemp, if he's hitting at the top of the order, I don't like to say it, right? Tony Kemp, not a lot of upside, right? But if you're making those stacks, it doesn't matter. If it fits, it fits. Remember, we're just building lineups. We're not like hand picking out players here. So in general, I do like the A's here. Dunning isn't going to go very far. So that'll do it. I hope this video helps you. I probably will not have a video for the evening slate. I got a bunch of errands to run. You know, my girlfriend's going out of town for a vacation, so I got to help her out with some stuff. So that will do it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't yet, y'all crazy. We're picking the plays of all plays. So thank you. Best of luck on your contests, and I will see you later. Peace out.